Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Actually, we just used this time so I could trick you guys into watching us do long form improv.
Yes.
So, can we get an occupation?
Video game programmer.
Just kidding. So this is Hyperkin presents Marketing the Retro Video Game Industry. I am Terence.
And I'm
Celia. I'm the PR specialist. She's our marketing project manager.
Howdy. Okay, so the first thing that goes into it, like what is retro gaming, and what we can agree on is it really depends on how old you are and like how your experience with video gaming. So question to the audience: what was your first video game? Like what do you consider, I guess, retro gaming?
Nintendo Game Boy.
Nintendo Game Boy, okay.
PlayStation 1.
Atari 2600.
Heck yeah.
Spyro on the Game Boy?
What?
Spyro?
Spyro on the Game Boy? Yeah, it does. What, like, the internet, I guess, can agree on it, that the cutoff for retro gaming is, like, PS1, Nintendo 64.
And that's only like right now.
Yes.
So maybe when I was a kid, it was obviously like maybe Atari, Odyssey, Magnavox stuff. So, I mean like, N64 and I think PS2 is kind of starting to become, people are starting to consider PS2, GameCube, Xbox as retro consoles, but that's not going to be for maybe like a year or two. So, okay, so why work in the retro industry? Okay, so it's sort of a niche market. A lot of people probably have never heard of Hyperkin, but you've heard of our products. We came out with the Retron 5 in 2014, and that's kind of like what put us on the map. It's a 10-in-1 retro gaming console. So, well, I guess it's 9-in-1, but then the adapter adds, actually, it goes up to 12. So, if you want to tell them what the Retron 5 actually plays.
Okay, you guys ready for it?
Take a deep breath.
It plays NES, SNES, Famicom, Super Famicom, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Sega Genesis, and the adapter Master System. But with our new adapter, it plays Master System, Sega Card, and Game Gear games.
So, I was part of the marketing team when that first came out. I joined in 2014. Celia joined us last year. So at the time, people were like, retro gaming fans are kind of, everyone's unique, but there's a certain type of retro gaming fan that's either super hostile on the internet, because they're so in love with these consoles that if someone were to mess with them, then they have to. They'll fight you. They have to get it out somewhere on forums, on YouTube video comments, stuff like that. So you were getting, I wouldn't say death threats, but people were like, if I ever see you at a con, you better watch out. Or people were basically saying like, this is my childhood, don't ruin it. And so yeah, I was brought on right when that was happening. It was this was like maybe my second or third job out of college. I graduated from Cal State Long Beach. 2010 with a journalism degree. There you go, go Beach. Yeah, I was a journalism major and I was a reporter for 2 years. And then when people were like, yeah, we don't want to pay journalists anymore for stuff, I was like, maybe I'll get into marketing. So I was already kind of in the retro gaming scene. I'm in an 8-bit band. We make chiptune music with a Game Boy. I play guitar. And we have a drummer and a bassist, and we've been doing it for a couple of years. And yeah, because of that, I've met a lot of people, a lot of unique people in the 8-bit scene. So when I say 8-bit scene, it's like people who are into pixel art, 8-bit music, 8-bit game developing, and yeah, there we go. And I didn't think I would actually get paid to do any of that stuff, obviously other than like doing music. And yeah, it's been my job for like the past 3 years to talk about and learn more about and promote the stuff that people otherwise would kind of like not really understand unless we filtered it down to something more digestible on the internet, social media, and this kind of things that people who aren't maybe 30 years old and above don't really understand. I'm 30, so I'm like the perfect age for NES, Genesis, SNES. I grew up around that era. So Celia is a little bit younger than me. She can talk about her experiences as a retro gamer.
So for me, okay, so I grew up, my first console was the Nintendo 64. And how I got into gaming in general wasn't normal stories. Like, oh, I got it for Christmas or my birthday. For me, no video game influence whatsoever, being a little child. But what happened is I had a neighbor that was really into video games, okay? And he was like in high school at the time, and the thing is though, is that he did really bad in like all of his subjects. So bad that his mom was like, couldn't come up with like a punishment for him. So she thought the worst thing ever for him was to take all of his video games, Nintendo 64, and give it to the neighbor kids. So I remember coming home one day and being like, what's that? And they're like, Mario. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna like this. And yeah, that kid ended up moving away. I ended up getting more consoles. So like, you know, SNES and then Dreamcast and Sega Genesis and my love of video games, you know, staying up late, you know, waiting for parents to go to sleep and then like, you know, grabbing your N64, turning it on mute and playing. It was magic. And I graduated Cal State Northridge. Any CSUN guy? Oh yeah, I went CSUN friend. And I majored as a double major in theater and communications, and you know, completely differently. But the thing is, though, is that I ended up going through different types of jobs, and then I found like one augmented reality video game company, and then like I also did QA and different things. And then when I found Hyperkin. I didn't even realize that I was a retro gamer. I was just like, I like video games, yeah. So what do you like? N64. What else? Sega Genesis. Do you like anything new? And I'm like, oh yeah.
What was it?
I was like, I like
Oh, The
PlayStation.
Sims? That's a new game, right?
Yeah, PlayStation 2. That's new, right?
That was like 3 years ago. So why work in the retro gaming industry? Well, I mean, like, I guess to work in the retro gaming industry, you really have to love retro games. I'm not saying it's a hard thing to do, but to explain, you know, nostalgia and to explain that like a lot of these products are aimed at people's childhoods, to explain it to people who kind of didn't grow up with video games, it's kind of a learning process. And like, even though I did work in marketing before this, this is literally like, it's a whole new ballgame. It's basically like you're talking to people who already know everything about retro gaming. They know that like Famicom. When the Famicom came out, all the NES, like the first line of NES cartridges had a Famicom adapter inside that if you open it up and flip it over, you can put it inside your NES and you can play Famicom games. Some people don't know that, so if you go to the store, find a Gyromite cart, weigh it with your hand. If it's a little heavy, there's a Famicom adapter inside. A lot of people don't know that, like, what's another weird anecdote that I know about video games?
The fact that Castlevania 3 for the Famicom that used the VRC6 chip, whereas it was only 2A03 in North America.
Yes, and the Castlevania 3 also works on a Retron HD, so
Heck yeah.
it's the first, I guess it's the first standalone NES HD console that plays Castlevania 3 right now. So we're actually super proud about that.
Yeah, very
Thanks for that.
high-fiving.
So expansion chips are, I wish I knew more about that stuff. But I mean, basically, like, what I want to say is that when you work in the retro gaming industry, it's small, but it's also like, it's kind of like inside baseball. I mean, like you really have to know it at a certain kind of like there's like a weird. It has to be in your DNA. If you didn't play retro video games, it's really hard to fake it. So even if you do try to fake it, at least get to know our products, because we've had people work for us, but they didn't want to learn our products, and it kind of showed in their performance.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you come to Hyperkin, we encourage that you get hands-on and break stuff. It's okay, and it's the only way that you can have, you can handle people attacking you at conventions. Like, yeah, excuse me. So does the Retron 5 okay? There's like a problem with my Retron 5. It has death grip, and if you try to take the cartridge out, it ruins like. That's literally like if you take the cartridge out and yank it out, and we encourage people not to do that. But if you don't communicate that with people at conventions, they're gonna automatically just think that you're trying to screw them over or something like that. But no, we're here to help. We understand that people will relate our Retron 5 to an NES, where you can literally yank that thing out and it should be fine. But these are newer products. You have to be a little more delicate. 1985 was different. Things were built.
Our industry is
heavier.
fueled by passion, and it shows through the people that farm, create, and it's a great place to be.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, we do a lot of fun.
I throw my Doraemon plush at her all the time at
Yeah,
work.
he
It's
does.
fun.
We have a lot of toys on our desk.
Where's the industry going? So retro gaming has become a genre rather than just a time period. So all of you have played games like Fez or what's the one that just came out? Owlboy.
Yeah.
Owlboy.
Yeah. What else is there?
There's-
Undertale, Eagle Island, Shovel
Undertale.
Knight.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
these games are coming out, and I wouldn't necessarily call them retro games because they came out in the past couple of years. So instead of it bringing some sort of nostalgic factor to it, it's almost just becoming a genre rather than like, because kids are going to be playing games like Undertale, and they're not, they're like 14, 15. There's no context there. They don't know why these characters look all blocky and pixely unless they relate it to Minecraft or something like that. So these kids are growing up in a time where they think that these retro style games are just artistic decision or just a design decision when they are kind of referencing someone's past, someone's childhood. And I think that's kind of cool because it's like we don't have to start we don't call them retro games anymore. We just call them games that stylistically it's called pixel art or 8-bit art, 16-bit art. But I mean, retro gaming is kind of working its way back into mainstream gaming. So the industry giants are noticing the popularity in making digital downloads available. So Rare Replay came out for Xbox One. They had a lot of cool stuff on it, Battletoads. Nintendo's Virtual Console, which I think something just recently came out, which was Blazing Lasers
Yes.
for TurboGrafx 16. That's a really funny title because Blazing Lasers is actually Kanye West's favorite game for the TurboGrafx 16.
True story.
Yeah, good old games. They also publish a lot of cool old PC games. So I mean, like people, there are ways for you to play these retro games without having to buy, old school consoles at thrift stores or garage sales. You can literally just go online and download these games, and some of them are perfectly emulated, some of them are not. Whatever stops people from downloading it off a torrent site and putting it on their phone, that's good for the retro gaming industry. So original cartridge prices and consoles are skyrocketing in interest and price. So I know you collect a little bit, right? So,
Yeah, I collect video games.
So what can you say about what's happening with the prices of video games right now?
Okay, so with all this interest in playing the games from the past, Rare Replay, NES Classic. Anyone know when NES Classic got released, how much did it cost? It was like $60. 100 bucks. Then
It was $60.
yeah, $60. And how much are people selling it for? Like
200.
like your firstborn child,
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, so that's just the digital, release of it. The hunger to experience the past is growing as well. Because people don't just want that, they want more, they want to satisfy that itch. They want to get a Super Mario RPG, that's like what, like $80 now?
Yeah,
There's
like $70
Earthbound.
Earthbound, I spent $200 on Earthbound last year. That wasn't fun, but I have it
Yeah.
now. I'm never gonna play it because I have it on Virtual Console
Yeah.
for 3DS and Wii U, and they have a reproduction cartridge of it. And
Yeah. So this hunger for something more is also growing, and there's conventions wholly, completely dedicated to retro gaming, and the community is thriving. And a lot of people come to us at conventions, and they're like 14 years old, and they're like, oh wait, you have the original Zelda game. He's like, oh, my dad gave me that. Oh, I want to pick up a cartridge. Where do I get one? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So yeah, the hunger is there.
yeah, I mean it's becoming the norm now.
Yeah.
Retro gaming is, again, like I said, it's becoming a genre rather than just a time period. And I think that's everything too. There's
Yeah.
stuff like vaporwave and retrofuturism and synthwave. All that stuff is coming back, and it's kind of promoting this 80s that didn't really happen.
Or rather, it's a recycling of 80s consumerism that everyone's forgotten about.
Definitely. I mean, and they've forgotten about it so much that all these cool, aesthetic, as you would say, that didn't actually happen, it works because, people picture the 80s in their head, and it's, it's that Mandela effect where people thought it was awesome, but it probably wasn't for some people, maybe for, I don't know. I was born in 87, so I was 3 years into the 80s. I was a child. So, who are we? What do we do? So, just to let you guys know, we actually have some of the dudes from our development team here. They'll actually talk about making the stuff and actually getting their hands dirty. Celia and I just We just type to each other on Skype all day.
And we make memes.
We make memes. We're the meme team. We are a gaming hardware development company. We specialize in retro gaming and more recently, modern gaming. We make cables, controllers, and accessories, what I like to call bread and butter. So, I mean, if you guys want to play like Atari 2600, we do distribute a controller called the A77. It's a premium controller that works perfectly well with your old school wood veneer Atari 2600. We make replacement parts for classic consoles, so you can fix your favorite old systems. So, what's something that you really wanted to make happen this year?
Okay, so I'm a huge Smash player. Everyone like Super Smash? Yeah? Heck yeah. For the GameCube, of course. And the thing is, though, is that with GameCube controllers, you know, we're vicious when we play. Like, we get into it, we get crazy. And the thing is, though, is that it wears down the silicone inside the GameCube controller. So, Tarek, what do we make?
Yeah, so we're making new silicone. So yeah, and like the thing is, we're not here to just pitch our products. What we're trying to say is that Celia and I came from completely different backgrounds, and there are different ways to get into the gaming industry. And even if it takes a couple weird twists and turns, because we're like retro gamers and we have this past of appreciating retro games and not getting too much into modern gaming, it has helped later on in life when, you know, like I was coming from a company that we digitized mail. So if you had a cool letter that you're getting from your grandma, you could read it on your phone from 1,000 miles away. So I left that job and like I literally answered an ad on Craigslist. They're looking for someone to marketing team and to help out with the Retro on 5. And I when I was interviewed, they were like, "Are you into retro games?" I'm like, "Well," and I just basically told them how I've been collecting for 15 years. I'm an 8-bit band. I write press releases really quickly, so if you guys have products coming out, there's no need to wait on getting the press involved. And I know how to communicate with the press. Sometimes video game journalists do not have the vocabulary that some retro gamers do. So they'll report something like, the NES has 60 pins and they work great with blah blah blah. And I have to be like, no, NES has 72 pins, the Famicom has 60. I gotta break it down for them very carefully in press releases, because even though these guys are great at what they do, sometimes they don't have that retro vocabulary. So because of my my experience as a retro gamer, it really helped with with my 3 years at Hyperkin. And I'm not saying that anyone else could just walk in and do my job, but I'm saying I had a very, and I guess I'm Liam Neesoning here, but a very specific set of skills. So, and same with Celia.
Yeah.
She was doing. What were you doing before?
Okay, so before then, I was with this company called Cthulhu, and that was a augmented reality app-based game. Before Pokemon Go, we came up with it too. And before that, I worked for a beauty company, in marketing for them. And it's just one of those things where I woke up one day and I'm like, I want to work for my passion. I want to re-inspire the 8-year-old Celia. I was like, heck yeah, I got a Nintendo 64, and have people experience it now. So it's one of those things of where your passion comes first, and a lot of working in the retro industry, it's you're seeing that light spark up in other people's eyes as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Let's see. Okay, so I talked a little bit about the Retro on 5, X91. So let's see. We can actually Super S. We have this with us.
Okay, Super S. I want to show you guys something cool. Okay, who likes SNES? Who also likes portable consoles? Why not both?
So this is an updated version of our Superboy.
Yes.
And so this is like a running joke. We only play Jungle Book on the Superboy because some dude harasses Celia for not being a real gamer.
Yeah, he messaged me, found my Facebook, messaged me. He was like, out of every question ever, do you really play Jungle Book? And I'm like, yes, I do. So every time from now on, Jungle Book.
So yeah, it's a handheld SNES. It plugs into a television, and you can actually plug in 2 controller ports on there. Battery lasts for about 8 to 10 hours on a full charge. So something like this, we had an original version that came out in 2011, And this is a slight upgrade. The screen is in 16:9, which some people do object to. And also, all the ports are hot swapped. So you can plug in a controller, play with it. Other guy can use the onboard controls. So something like this, you know, I could just spam like Kotaku and GameSpot and IGN with like press releases, but like it took me years to build like a media contact list of people like Gamester81. Some people don't know who he is. He really only reviews retro stuff. There's Metal Jesus Rocks. He's another YouTuber. He actually used to work for Sierra, but he just reviews like retro video games now. So, you know, like I guess any other company that has a PR person, they would be reaching out to people like Kotaku and IGN and GameSpot and you know, like these major gaming publications. But you know, I had to like build my own kind of like list of people who to talk to. Otherwise, no one knows what to do with these press releases. So Celia and I, you know, our job is to really, I guess what we do is more brand management rather than marketing, because we're not analytical marketers at all. But I mean, we know how to do things here and there regarding analytics. But you know, we do run our booth at conventions. We go to different trade shows. We do stuff like we do a lot of panels now. But it really is up to us to like kind of figure out how to. We kind of have to meet our fans rather than just kind of talking to them and telling them what they want. We really have to figure out what they want. And it's the only way that we can communicate our releases and our different updates to our products a little bit better than, let's say, just, you know, if you were developing games or software. So hardware, so not only are we kind of like in a niche industry in that we make hardware, you know, we're making retro gaming hardware. So it is kind of a job that took us a little bit of learning. It took me like, you know, at least a good 2 years to just kind of be like, okay, I think I kind of know what to do to make sure that like people know what we do, and because explaining to someone like what this thing does that has never played an SNES and you know has never or that doesn't actually play, I guess, handheld consoles, to get someone to buy this thing, you know, in front of you at a convention, it takes some finesse, I would say. So
we have 3 minutes.
okay. So I guess we can open it up to questions.
Yeah.
And then our product team will actually
Take
talk
over
right
from
after
here.
this.
Where are y'all located?
Okay, so this is actually a fun question because we currently are in South El Monte, but we're actually making a move soon.
Yeah,
So-
we're gonna live like really close to Poly Pomona.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna.
So we are looking for interns.
Yes, throwing
Actually,
out there.
hiring?
You know what?
I mean, you
Our-
said interns, but
Our team specifically, we are not, but I think we're always looking for people in other departments. So if you would contact, I believe the best would be, I think, media@hyperkin.com. Then we can actually forward all that info to the right people. And we're always kind of hiring. So, and E3 is coming up, so we are looking for interns as well.
I'll be at E3, so.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome. So if you want to go to E3, hang on.
So I'm actually really curious about your guys' brand management, because I know for me, I'm a graphic designer, so I actually had to like basically rebrand my club for Poly Pomona. And essentially like a lot of the times they kept coming up to us and they're like, do you play esports? And we're like, no, we make video games. And they're like, oh, and they walk away. And so I would say like it took me about 2 to 3 years to finally figure out like, oh, okay, so we gotta reposition ourselves because everyone thinks, oh, we're like this.
Yeah.
But then I really want them to think we're this. So that took a while, but I was wondering like your guys' process in terms of getting to that point where people are understanding who you guys are, but then also trying to like build that contact list like you were saying.
I mean, it's unique in that like you have to talk to people who you otherwise wouldn't normally socialize with. So like, I'm not saying like weird people or anything like that. I'm just saying like
Deep web.
yeah, deep web. I'm saying like people who are like, you know, maybe like 20, 30 years older than me. People who are like really like way younger than me to know more about retro gaming. The thing is, there's not one type of like retro gamer. They're like all across the board. So I have to like, you know, figure out a way to be like, how do I speak their language? How do I communicate with them? Because, you know, some people who are really into these types of you know, consoles and games, they really don't want to change. So it's more like, how can we see eye to eye with these people, and then kind of like, you know, in a really I guess in a really nice way, kind of just tell them, we want to go this route, but we don't want to insult you because you guys are a core demographic. So, you know, if we want to make a screen that's 16:9, that's still cool. People will like that, even if some people don't. So,
Is there an option for like a 4:3 within the 16:9?
Yeah.
I think we talked about it.
So, I mean, I believe this will have a 4:3 to 16:9 switch on it.
Coming soon.
I'm not sure. So we haven't announced anything yet.
So,
But it still correlates to the original 256, 224 resolution.
Yeah, it's all. I want to say it's proportionate to the screen.
Okay.
That's actually a better question to ask these guys, though.
Okay.
So with brand management, make sure that your message is clear and you can communicate to the audience.
And-
So,
And open a dialogue.
yes.
It's not just. I mean, you know, you can just kind of like throw out some cool big ideas and wacky marketing campaigns, but really it's just us trying to like open a conversation with people online and conventions, because they're really nice people, but they start, you know, sometimes they'll go to your booth and just shoot off like a million questions trying to stump you on one.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just have to be really patient. But yeah, okay, I guess like what do we want them to take away from this?
Okay,
Like,
so to wrap up like what we.
yeah. Sorry guys, our panel's usually just kind of talking about what we do, and it's not usually students, so we kind of have to like.
I just have one quick question for those guys, if I
Oh,
could,
sure.
real quick.
Sure.
They're gonna have their
Oh,
whole.
you're talking next?
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were reading the whole thing. Oh,
Okay.
wait, I'm good.
So basically, guys, retro's very niche, and the whole thing with like marketing and like brand management is what Terence said: open conversation with people you're trying to communicate with, have a clear message, and there is no one direct path. So some people, you know, you apply and go straight. You know, some people, you know, you start out in journalism, and you know, you like apply your skills, apply your strong suits, and love what you do.
Our head product developer is a literature major.
Yeah, and he comes up with like this stuff.
Yeah.
So seriously, apply your skills and have fun. Thank you guys so
Thank you
much.
guys, and,
We're gonna bring on a product. Up there for you.
Have
It
this-
sounds really fun. It's loud.
Is it still region free? The original one was.
Yeah, there's a PAL and NTSC switch, so you can like pick right now
Oh.
what part of the world you're playing with. Okay, let me get out of here.
How's it going, guys? I'm Jesse,
And I'm Steven.
and we work in the product department and R&D department of Hyperkin. They're kind of on the same plane. R&D, we definitely delve into like the nitty-gritty of the old retro consoles and modern consoles, and as of recently, PC stuff that includes VR. And these are the few things we're going to be talking about.
Okay, so my name's Sinto, and I'm an alumni from UCR. I'm a class of 2015, so just 2 years ago. And I actually have been part of the hardware gaming company for 2 years. So right out of college, with just a little bit of breakpoint between, I found my way into the hardware gaming industry as an intern, and then afterward I became a software developer now at Hyperkin, and I do basically part of the R&D team. So for me, I'm more of the guy who focus more on the software side of and combining it with the hardware to make things work.
Yeah, well, when I started, it was about the same time as Terence, a little bit after. So I was hired full-time for product development. And yeah, so just to go back to Stephen too, so he really impressed us with his programming. There's not too much programming initially for our R&D department because we were dealing with retro consoles. Mainly it was controller based, so we didn't have any apps that we were developing or any firmware we were programming, but that's changed. So I'm Jesse, and so I graduated at Poly Pomona. I was in the Electronics and Computer Engineering Technology department. So it's a little bit different than a double E major. We definitely were a little more project-based and application-based. And so I've always been a gamer, mainly PC gamer. I'm not really a retro collector, but ever since I started here, I started having retro relapses and just all the projects I got involved in, N64, SNES, Atari. I remember my dad had those. We never kept them, which I regret now, but you know, as a kid, you kind of don't really keep your old consoles, at least I didn't. So, you know, I had my N64 and I traded it to the evil GameStop to get the next one.
Wow,
I had the GameCube.
Double, sir.
Yeah, the GameCube, and then, you know, GameCube didn't have online, so I traded that for the Xbox. And now I had to go repurchase all those because I wanted them back. But, yeah, so I definitely like it at Hyperkin. I always loved gaming. Still mainly PC gamer, but, you know, that's another story. So this is one of our new products, and Steven will start off.
So this is SmartBoy. It's actually an attachment that you can put to your smartphone that is Type-C compatible. And what you can do actually is after you insert it and you download our SmartBoy companion app, you can actually put in your old Game Boy cards or Game Boy Color cards, and it'll actually load that directly to your phone so you can play it. So we configure everything for you with our app. So all you really have to do is just have the app and then just plug your phone in and you're ready to go.
Are you the only guys doing this?
There's been other smartphone you know, peripheral attachments that would completely encapsulate the whole device, but we are the first ones to combine both an original hardware and, you know, a gamepad built in.
Hey.
So, yeah, so as Steven said, the SmartBoy is blending modern with the, you know, most advanced smartphone you can go buy, which the S8, you know, the Type-C. We definitely wanted the most recent phone, so the Type-C was the go-to choice.
So normally in like gaming, they're like for gaming consoles, you first have so this one actually is a different paradigm. It's the reverse of what you normally see, because in game development you normally see that you have the console first, then you develop software for it. So the hardware actually puts the limitation onto the software, what is possible. While for this one, it's actually the reverse, because we are targeting a modern device that already have Android OS running, and we actually have to work around the limitation of that software to define our hardware. So because of that, we actually go through multiple iterations. We learn the ins and outs of Android to learn what is compatible, what is not. We go through many different types of prototype, go through different variation in firmware, and just also changes in the software on the app side to make sure both are working together nicely to give like the best plug and play experience possible.
Yeah, so like he said, there was a lot of iterations of the SmartBoy. You know, there was first a developer app, and then we finally finalized the app through Google. So when the time comes to purchase, I think the app's on.
The app is already live on the store,
Yeah.
but we're still in production for this.
So to go back, we don't have any pictures of our old SmartBoy prototypes, but you know, with a cell phone device, it's kind of, you know, hard to just get, you know, one shape. So we had originally had the SmartBoy that had like almost like a flip phone design to pull out the gamepad, put your phone in. That design did not work. I still like that design more with the flip phone idea, but we kind of went more with the car mount design just because it worked better. And yeah, our first version was also micro, and we definitely had to upgrade that. The Type-C was a lot better because it's reversible, and as you know, with micro devices, I think LG and HTC all have their own ways to put the micro. So the Type-C version will be coming out soon, and yeah, we're really proud of it. It's actually the first project that we, incorporated software with. So, well, apart from the Retron 5 that has an OS to play the games, we have a published app now, so we're pretty proud of that. And like Stephen too said, the Smart Boy definitely was limiting what we can do. We had other prototypes where we were toying with the idea of Bluetooth, but that didn't seem efficient. Okay, so we have our next project.
So our next project is bass drum. So this is where we take a stab at actually game development and virtual reality. So this one was never made public. It's actually an internal project. So we do VR accessories, and so we thought it would be a good idea to actually do this project. That way we familiarize ourselves with how the game VR industry is doing development, what are some of the best practices in there, and how things are changing.
I
don't know if we can get sound.
Yeah, I can take a look at it.
It's already amazing.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Should be there. Here we go.
So last year at E3, we were debuting our VR accessories, and what better way to try out those accessories with a game? So the R&D team developed this game, me, Stephen too, and our lead product developer, Chris Calacsan. Right now, I don't think we have any plans of releasing it, but if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to get in touch with us, we probably could send a demo. Back to bass drum. So like I said, it was an R&D project. The really main objective was to have this game to use with our VR accessories, which we're having new accessories come out. The ones that last year at E3 we had, silicone skins for the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift.
And also for the headsets, for both. And so to do this, we actually use Unreal Engine 4. It provides us with a really nice scripting language, their Blue Script system, that actually allows people who don't actually program to be able to. So I found that really nice. It allowed the entire team to be able to work on it together instead of just having a programmer doing a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, so Stephen too and Chris Calacsan definitely did the bulk work for like game logic and game design. I myself I have some 3D design and CAD background, so I did some of the meshes, modeling, and due to this project being fund limited, we didn't purchase I think Maya. So I definitely started learning Blender, which a lot of people don't like, but I really like it, and it being free is also a plus. So I would recommend for you guys, if you want to start 3D modeling or get into 3D graphics, Blender can do a lot of things, but it's just kind of a little crude with the animation and the UVs and all that. So with this project, this being really our first game developing, this was a VR game, so that already gave us kind of limitations and what we can do with the game, which kind of helped us in favor compared to developing a game from scratch, or just a regular mouse and pad game that can really have endless bounds. But with VR, we're kind of limited to no teleportation really, or we can develop teleportation, but we didn't. So developing a 360-degree viewing of the game was kind of challenging, and I think Steven too can.
So yeah, instead of putting into practice things like mobility, we actually focus more on the core. So instead, base drop is actually a wave shooter, but you are actually confined within a more certain space. So instead, objects come to you instead. So we were doing that opposed to having like full mobility, like using teleportation or other sort of locomotive motion.
Yeah, just to reiterate this, base drop. The three of us, had no game experience, but we definitely enjoyed the process, and we actually, had a milestone that maybe some game developers never had, of having a game at E3, and we did, but it was mainly for promotion purposes. And we were actually in the talks to get funding for it, which would, original plan would to probably license the IP out, but for right now we kind of have it in a frozen state. As Hyperkin gets bigger and we delve into software, possibly we can resurrect it for future uses. And so here's a picture of one of the products that we're currently developing. This is a 3D printed model gun, not a real gun, so no one tell. And this is using the soon-to-be released HTC tracker. And you want to talk more about the tracker?
So for those of you who do follow the VR scene, there's the HTC Vive tracker. Right now it's out for developers only, and they're going to release it very soon to consumer. So this one is, of course, you see a gun. So the HTC Vive tracker has two mode of communication. You could do USB or you could do pogo pins. For this one, we plan to do pogo pin because it's versatile and it can easily be adapted for many different developers. So different game studio can utilize it without having to actually do too much in the USB hardware kind of modification aspect. You just kind of have that peripheral, you plug it in, and then your game will just already support it and you develop for the tracker.
And since this project is currently in the development, I guess I'll run down, our traditional product timeline, or product development timeline. So, our first start with anything you're developing is to have a need for a product. So we found, this tracker that Vive was releasing, and it was, without the gun attachment, it's kind of useless. It's not really a nice thing to hold, to track. So that satisfies one thing in the product development process, is the need for an attachment. And at Hyperkin, we have a concept artist that we will tell them our ideas, our aesthetics that we want for this product, and give them a feature list as well. So we did that with this gun, and us being a retro company in the past, and we're actually getting more modern, but we definitely want to keep our our retro styling, which is kind of iconic with a lot of our products. We opt to get this product to have a zapper flare. But it's not a zapper, it's a blaster. But we know why some HTC was in the communications with us, because they like how our things are designed, that they're reminiscent of older products, and they really put the player in a nostalgic throwback. So after concept design, you can see that this gun is 3D printed and handmade. I worked with Chris Galizzi to get some of the CAD design work and I did some of the internal PCB design. You know, that was my major. So this has 4 buttons and a vibration motor in it. So in the final product, it'll have a trigger button, a menu button, a trackpad button, and I believe a grip button. This model is actually not our most recent concept design, but you know, so this is up for change still. So we already talked about that. I want to talk about what we're gonna do with this product. Accessories for game developers.
Oh. Okay, so right now with the Vibe Tracker out, there's no unified platform yet for game developers. They're all kind of making their own version of like a gun, and because of that, you have all these variation out there, and so that kind of ties in with how without a unified form of accessory, you have game developer developing something that works just for something that they created. And what happens is when they release that, the Vibe Tracker will only work if you buy that specific accessory that game developer have done. And so that really is restrictive. You don't want to actually buy one accessory for just one game. So what we try to do with the blaster actually is to provide this uniform way where a developer can just have this accessory and then just develop for it, and then other games could actually utilize the same exact accessory. So, of course, the blaster is another way of showing that to be part of the game industry, you don't actually have to do just software. You can do that by hardware. In this case, providing an accessory that actually allows the software to actually be more unified, so to speed up the process.
Yeah, just to rehash on being part of the game industry can also be hardware. This also helped us get in talks with, some of the larger companies like HTC and Oculus. So we're currently working with these companies to develop this, and it's actually been pretty refreshing because HTC has actually put us in contact with a few indie developers in LA to try our tracker and try our gun tracker, and they provide us with feedback, what they would want to see in it. So it's kind of, I would say, the same, very similar to how a game developer would develop, a small demo and send it out to, people to critique it. So that has helped us.
Okay, so Q&A, any questions?
I'll start off. So I just completed an internship with Yacht Club Games recently, so that was about 5 months. As you know, they've done Shovel Knight, and that's a game that is, retro based, but it also kind of combines, a bit of modern stuff. So like it has a native 16:9 output, uses shoulder buttons, even though it still tries to stick to the NES 8-bit aesthetic. So as you guys have been talking about, you've traditionally been doing hardware, but now that you're talking about going into software, do you think like that's an approach that you would be open to taking in the future, is doing these kind of retro games that even though they, kind of feel like real NES, SNES type games, they still have like little things to them that are, up to date and more modern for people, for consumers?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the hindsights of our CEO, is to get into software with with apps and with games. We actually had a partnership with, I don't know if you've heard of them, they're called Pico Interactive. I would say they do reproductions and kind of make a revive of an old cartridge. And they've actually also made like some, homebrew NES games, homebrew SNES.
Okay, I think
So, we would definitely support that, and we would love, to develop a game one day. That would probably require us making a new department, and
yeah.
definitely maybe it would be part of a separate branch of the company.
But like, I mean, more specifically, like a modern game that just looks and feels like retro.
Yeah. We definitely probably think of like a platformer
Yeah,
or
like
a shoot 'em up.
like an RPG or
Yeah.
anything.
I would say definitely. We definitely could see ourselves doing that.
Okay.
Yes.
Hardware, specified platform game hardware is sometimes it's a difficult track to follow. The Guitar Hero guitar did one thing, and it was big for a while, and then fell out on the market. The aftermarket of searching through eBay to find that one thing because the one key on your guitar broke. You're saying that developers are hooking you up with indie places so that you can push the hardware of your gun? Is that basically they're making the connections for you?
Yeah, I would say HTC. Well, it actually is their Vive branch, which has been we've been in communications with. Can't say too much on other products other than the blaster we're developing, but they've helped us get in touch with some actual dev studios. I don't know if you guys have heard of Stress Level Zero.
Yeah.
I think they did the Friday Nights at Freddy.
Oh, Friday Nights at Freddy. Okay.
So they're making a VR game, and Vive is heavily supporting them, and Vive is supporting us to manufacture accessories and skins and probably extra cables down the line. And so as with any type of, at least the industries I've worked in, relationships and people is definitely very helpful, and can be used for other projects.
As more recent and more complicated systems become retro, like the Dreamcast and PS2, is there going to come a point where it's really not practical for you guys to continue making new retro hardware to emulate those systems?
You wanna ask that one? I would say yes. We've had some projects we can't really talk about that involve disk, and those projects definitely left us with a big roadblock. We've had a partnership with a larger company that wanted us to develop some type of disk reader. So we've had attempted, due to limitations of disk and due to the integrity of all the disk games that are available. We don't have any plans in continuing those projects, but as time goes on, with software becoming very good at emulating, my favorite would be Dolphin. Dolphin emulators become extremely compatible. I definitely think that would allow us, maybe we can approach these emulator companies to have a partnership and possibly release a combined system. But yes, it's been very hard.
Any other questions? I got another one. I understand, I haven't actually looked at it, but I understand there's like an HD NES that you guys are working on. Is that based on like field programmable gate arrays, like actual hardware emulation rather than software?
We can't say too much about the internals, but it's not software emulation, and there's no FPGAs in the actual circuit board. But we can say there is similarities to our other devices that we've had released. We definitely took our time with this product, and we wanted to get the color correction and the palettes that the Retron HD outputs to get it as close as possible to the original, and also have extremely high compatibility, which some of our other products didn't do too well. But we're pretty happy with the Retron HD on everything you can play. Anybody else? All right, thank you guys.